I think that's hard to determine. It's also hard to answer. So it's a good question, but it's hard to answer because um, due to the fact that everything is so much changing all the time, it's hard to pin it down, right? So even if you start thinking about these kind of things, then you sometimes get stuck with, there's already another thing which is distracting you. I think quite often the first thing I want to understand is why are these kind of things happening? So what is the issue? What is triggering them? Where are they coming from that they actually came to this conflict or get stuck in this situation?
Reflecting on your career and journey, have you had significant mentorship experiences? Can you share some how mentorship has impacted your professional journey?
Yeah, for sure. I think I at the beginning I never actively watched out for a mentor.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to Vibe It Up, the podcast where we explore the dynamic world of tech and software development. I'm your host, Dan Tudorache, and I bring over 20 years of experience in the software development industry, wearing multiple hats as a solution architect, coach, trainer, and now as a psychologist too. Now, you might be wondering, what's the vibe all about? Well, the vibe it's about the people, the sparkle in our community, in the tech community, which make the things go further. So, having said this, I have with me Tom Siebeneicher, and I will let you, Tom, present yourself. What's your briefly current role? And after that, we will get into more details and exploring a bit of your journey in this tech world. Okay, thank you. Hello.
Yeah, hello, and thank you for the invite, and thank you for being here. Yeah, my name is Tom. I'm originally from Germany, nowadays living in the Netherlands, so both quite rainy countries. Over the past 9 years, I'm exploring, I'm working, I'm somehow diving into the field of agility across various industries, various project types inside and outside of IT, and also really try to get my head around organizational excellence and what are things we can do to make our day to day better and actually have a happy and wealthy working environment. And that's what I'm striving for. And again, happy to be here and have a nice discussion.
Sure, sure. Thank you, Tom, for being here, for accepting to be near me in this journey. And I've started the podcast not just as a it was just something as a build something for the community, and I had in mind myself 20 years ago when I started in this industry and said, okay, what would I love to have that period? Someone who speaks about what? About technical stuff, about life, about entering in the technical field, or what will be. And I decided that the most important thing to follow is the emotions and the journey and the support we had during our time in tech. So please give us a brief overview of your current role and responsibilities and in what you are doing now.
Yeah, sure. I'm currently working for Xebia, as I said, in the Netherlands, and my current role can be described as agile transformation consultant, or um, I'm helping companies in transforming their current state of agility. I do this via various clients in the banking industry, but also tech companies here in the Netherlands. And I think one thing I always recognize, while my title is transformation consultant, I think it's quite often more about the journey. So quite often I'm participating in a part of the journey. So an organization maybe already have as current state of an organizational setting and strives for another one, or is trying something which is not working. And then me and my colleagues normally jump in and see how can we help? How can we either fix something which is broken or set something up which is not in place yet?
Mm, yeah, yeah. interesting role, and it's a little hard, I guess, too, because you're facing humans all the time, and you're facing behaviors and organizational structures and environments, and everyone has his own approach on building teams, on communicating, collaborating with each others, and I'm curious how you handle all this part. But until then, could you share a bit about your background and journey in this world, leading up to your current position?
Yeah, sure. I think it all started when I studied in Berlin. It was industrial engineering. I was focused on mechanics, so I was quite a heavy manufacturing, even already slightly pivoting in the direction of automotive. But then after my master degree, I ended up in consultancy. First with classical project management consultancy. So I also did my PMI certification. I read the big book. I tried to set up a waterfall project. But quite soon in the process, during my first project, I realized that that cannot be all. There must be more. There must be a different approach to things, especially if the circumstances are not clear or if things are changing. So what we did doing then is, yeah, the typical thing of, oh, let's become a Scrum Master. We did a Scrum Master certification overnight, and the next day I said, okay, let's be Scrum. Well, we failed miserably in that regard, but I think that was the starting point roughly 9 years ago, diving into the agile field. So at the beginning, I tried to become better at being a scrum master. Over time, I also transitioned into being a product owner. And then the first agile coaching assignments came up. And further, I stepped into the direction of becoming more professional around agility, having more knowledge, till the point that nowadays I'm active trainer for SAFe. I'm active trainer also for customized trainings around agility and trying to help organizations within the agile field. I even tried to be a developer for a couple of sprints with one team. I cannot say that this was actually helpful for the team, but I'm 100% certain that it was really, really helpful for me because it also gave me the opportunity to know, okay, how is it within a team? So I'm not just preaching something I never experienced. I really try to preach what I also practiced for a while. And this applies for a lot of things. And I think this also, if I now discuss a potential model across several teams of an organization, is I have lived through it while operating in certain projects. And this is really valuable because it also then addresses the why we are doing the things. Because quite often within organizations, especially the why do we want to change, is not tangible for the team, for the leadership, or the overarching organizational structure. And this creates a lot of misunderstandings.
Yeah, definitely. That why. As Simon said, Sinek said, start with the why first, and after that you see how you do it and what needs to be done to reach there. And reflecting on your early career, what were some key roles or projects that had a significantly influence on your professional growth?
I think what had the biggest influence, or not the biggest influence, is actually having a variety of projects. So by being a consultant all the time, I mean, I started as a consultant in 2015 and then jumped from role to role. It really gave me a lot of different challenges I had to face in different kind of organizations, also in different settings, within a team, alone, within IT, outside of T. So the whole endeavor itself had a huge impact because I saw so many things. But I think one of the biggest challenges was when I was working for a big pharma company and we tried to roll out a new platform across the globe in a really iterative way. So we divided by continent, we had a huge team, and we really tried to sync all together. And it pushed myself so much to the limits that I also learned a lot about myself because I had the great opportunity right after this project to go on a sabbatical for a year. So I traveled for a year and I used this time to also reflect on the things we did during that time. So, what are my own capabilities? How far can I stretch myself? How far do I want to stretch myself? And how can I then combine this with proper, let's say, and healthy relationship to work?
Awesome, awesome. It's something that doesn't do everyone to get that quality time to reflect on everything, and it's very important, and I find that useful times in my career too. So can you recall specific challenge maybe or obstacle you faced early in your career, and how that shaped your growth and approach to growing in the direction that you wanted?
Yeah, I think quite early in my career, especially when I also was trying to achieve a successful project execution in a waterfall way, was getting these limitations of we have done it always like this. We need to better plan. We need to be more precise on the plan. And having these boundaries also got me thinking because I was not used to it, right? I never learned it that way. I came fresh from university. I knew that there's project management. I knew there's a waterfall way of doing it. I had the first glimpse of something called Scrum Agile-ish. Um, and then reflecting on these boundaries and not always accepting these boundaries and finding solutions which are actually helping the people, that really motivated me because it also gave me energy uh, in a sense of, yeah, okay, this is a challenge, this is our boundary, and we found a solution for it. And the people are grateful because the people also wanted to move forward and wanted to get out of a stressed space. They wanted to go into, yes, I like to work, I see a purpose in it. So this really drove me over years to move forward. And I think nowadays, this is also something which I really appreciate. If I get this tangible feedback by the people, that the things are more clear, the things are more transparent, they have a better understanding how to move forward, and they also feel better equipped facing the challenges they have ahead of them, because there are always challenges. The question is just what is the setting you are living in or you are put in your in regards to your organization, and how can you face that?
Yeah, yeah. uh, Many companies I know, and I've been through many companies that they say they will implement agile and scrum, but it's only on a declarative intention, and it's just putting some, I don't know, maybe artifacts, or maybe some daily meetings, and they say they are agile, and they do scrum. Do you had something like this in your experience?
Yeah, I think I had this quite regularly. It's not just that I had it once, it's that um, this behavior on different levels of an organization to say we need agile to fix the problem. Yeah, why do you need agile? So because someone said so, because someone found it interesting, or the best answer because everyone does. And that's not a valid reason. And I always preach whenever I came to an organization is do agile where agile is due, and not just use it for the sake of using it because it's fancy and everyone wants to use it. And for me, and this is where I'm currently moving towards also as a consultant, as a person, is more thinking about organizational excellence. So what is the right setting? What is the right mix of things for the organization? Because nowadays you can have Scrum, Kanban, classical waterfall project management, but DevOps. But we are currently also more moving, for example, also in the direction of team ops, or how to wire an organization successfully. There are also great books about it. So I think at the end, it comes down to the right mix of all these elements. And it's hard to determine at the beginning what is the right mix. I think you can work with certain blueprints or frameworks to kick it off. But if the team is self motivated and you create this safe space, so freedom in a frame, they can apply, they will pick the right methods. So, what is the right way of prioritizing? Yeah, well, as long as it's working for the team and they achieve what they want to achieve, why messing around with it? But we are so much used to here's blueprint A, it needs to work everywhere, that we get stuck with it.
Yes, yes, obviously, and yeah, that happens. And I love your approach and perspective on this matter, because it's important how a team and the personalities from the team do together, and how well they are used to work, and the organizational culture inside the team, right? Not just only at the declarative way. So we have the company values, very well, the company values, as I think you already do. And they the top management or HR department try to impose the company values into the team, right? Without having building those values inside the team and inside the people that are forming the team, because we are individuals, and it's hard to get some values that we don't have, right? And it's how the leadership builds those qualities and values within the team members, and how the people are actually building from there, right? So it's and goes everything to behaviors, right, at the end, because the organizational is based on people. People have thoughts, and in the end behaviors, and so behaviors will also give the way of doing things around here.
Yeah,
As I
for sure. And especially, like you said, sometimes the gap is too big between what kind of values the leadership is imagining and what is
Mhm.
actually reaching the team. So practice what you preach and as actually walk the walk and not just talk about things. This is quite
Yeah.
important. Other way around is also then, okay, if a team can't work with values or actually define them in a slightly different way, is the leadership connected to it, and do they have a
Mm.
proper understanding about it? So co-create and work together on the things is quite important.
Mhm. Mhm. How do you approach critical decision making in your career, considering your past experience and lessons learned along the way? Because in your role, there are multiple times that you need to take some decisions.
Yeah, well, there are various effects on it. Quite often, it came naturally, I have to say, so that's not too much decisions around it. But especially making tough decisions, I always try to include the people which can provide the most guidance. So take decision where the knowledge is. So, for example, if I come to an organization, I include the leadership, but also I try to include the experts, the subject matter experts, and so forth. If it's about my personal life, and that's also one of the reasons why I switched to Xebia and came to Xebia, because I found a lot of experts around me, which I can consult or talk to have mentors. Because for me, it's I'm never stop learning, and I think it's important to find people which have more or similar or even totally opposite experience in certain things, to have fruitful discussions about it. This is also one of the reasons why, since the last 1.5 years, maybe slightly longer, Sandra Du and I, a colleague from Xebia, going to more and more conferences and also actively speaking at conferences to get even more input and to make educated decisions about things in our life, in our career, and so forth.
Yeah, definitely, definitely. So, were there any, I don't know, specific times when you needed to take a radical decision regarding your job, your role, your company?
I think one of the most radical decisions I made a while ago was that we had this situation that we were working with a client and they wanted to implement certain elements of agility. And I think we came to the point and to the conclusion that this doesn't work for the client. So they try to achieve something which is totally useless. It will not help them. And actively communicating to the client that we rather step out and let go of the situation than stepping in and working and earning money on it as a consultancy, where we don't see a reasoning or a success opportunity in it. So I think that was a radical step to say. And I think the other step was personally sometimes when I came, and this was not radical. Radical might be the wrong wording, but before my sabbatical, I worked extremely hard. I worked over hours. I worked way too much. And I think I stepped out into the sabbatical and reflected on the fact, do I want to become a consultant? Do I want to stay being a consultant? Or do I step out of this world? Because being a consultant is never 9 to 5. But I came to the conclusion that this is something what makes me tick. This is something I like to do. But I want to do it on more, let's say, transparent terms. So I'm no one who's just working from breakfast break to lunch break. I'm still working a lot. I'm working also in different settings quite often. Nevertheless, I'm more conscious about myself, my friends, my personal life. And I think that was a harsh decision with myself to stick to it, but it worked out great so far.
Awesome, awesome. Yeah, and from your point of view, in everything you had to decide and all these critical points in your career and maybe your life, um, do you think that the emotional intelligence had a major impact in your case, and maybe why in the tech industry, and not only in tech but also in leadership roles as yourself, it's important to have emotional intelligence skills?
I think it's crucial to have these skills because what I see with myself or within myself is that if I'm not reflective, if I'm not talking about things, if I'm not drilling into what can I do better, I cannot help others because this behavior of pushing things away and let them do it, so someone else would do it for me, that's for me not good leadership, but it's also not healthy for yourself because you try to push away topics to someone else or away from you without reflecting on what is possible and what can you do yourself. And then also having these situations, especially as consultants, where people are rejective, they don't want to work with you, they don't want to talk with you. If you don't have the emotional intelligence to figure out what is triggering them, so where is it coming from, so why are they acting the way they're acting, um, then you will run in circles, you will not making any progress. And I think understanding that, acknowledging that, but also taking this into account each and every day is a huge success factor.
Yeah, yeah, I totally agree, and give an important example. And I'm pretty sure that are moments and when actually the emotional intelligence plays key roles in resolving things and taking decisions. But I want you to maybe think of a situation when it was important to have in resolving a team conflict, maybe, or addressing a challenging situation with the stakeholders or something like that.
Yeah, I think that's hard to determine. It's also hard to answer. So it's a good question, but it's hard to answer because um, due to the fact that everything is so much changing all the time, it's hard to pin it down, right? So even if you start thinking about these kind of things, then you sometimes get stuck with, there's already another thing which is distracting you. But keeping the focus and actually tackling this question or this situation, that is then the key. But this is hard to keep your mind around it.
Yes, yes, yeah, in this. And maybe team conflicts always degenerates when communication was bad, was incomplete, was not taking very seriously. Someone maybe didn't do their job on documenting something, and so people had different impressions and perspective of over the a certain situation or outcome of the situation. And that's important how you approach that situation. How do you facilitate the meeting and the view of everyone involved in that decision making maybe process, because many times there are multiple persons that need to take a decision. And sometimes I've seen in teams taking hour 4 hours, 6 hours meetings long to take one decision, which could be more effective. The process to be more effective and not taking this much. If everyone could handle this process before going into the that meeting, maybe. Um, and speaking of that and conflicts, how do you handle, I don't know, team dynamics and communication challenges within the projects that you have worked on?
I think quite often the first thing I want to understand is why are these kind of things happening? So, what is the issue? What is triggering them? Where are they coming from that they actually came to this conflict or get stuck in this situation? And then also diving into, okay, how can we address that? So, for example, I acknowledge the fact that you cannot make each and everyone happy. So if you have a team of 10 people, there might be someone which is just frustrated for a lot of reasons, personally, professionally, whatever it is, and trying to make each and everyone 100% happy every time will not work. I think in these situations, addressing the why, so the professional why, what is the issue we are having within the team? So not that they don't like each other or I had a bad day and just want to complain. Um, and then taking it from there. So creating the psychological safety that we want to tackle the business problem. We want to talk about the business problem, and then also ensuring that there is an actual change. Because especially with team conflicts or with challenges like this, quite often at the beginning you can reach a point that the team is sharing, yeah, it was always shitty like this, and it will never change. Yeah, well, if you then start to say, okay, let's face it, let's work with it, and it still doesn't change, you don't have trust, because the trust from the team, from the people you're working with, is earned, not given. I mean, you can expect a little bit of, let's say, a head start, or a little bit of a budget at the beginning, but over time, an organization, the leadership, I myself as a consultant, you need to prove that you actually move things forward, and then I think you start getting more and more into the things. And yes, sometimes you then also leave the professional space and step into a personal space with a person or a team. But even this is fine as long as this safe space for them is given.
Yes, yes, indeed. Many perspective people have different opinions. Times maybe people have also big egos to feed.
Yes, for sure.
And it's a challenge to handle, especially as a leader, consultant, manager, and so on. That you need to keep everything balanced and to understand the everyone's point of view, but take the right decision in the end.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. And I think getting your head around these kind of things and actually reflecting what makes the most sense or what is the biggest need also provides the biggest benefit. But quite often you don't take the time, because I don't know how it is for you, but I feel quite often organizations are rushed. They rush from one thing to another, and teams are rushing from one thing to another because everyone wants to get through the day. But taking these moments then to actually reflect on these situations and uh, holding a break or stopping for a minute, that can be so beneficial and also so relieving around a lot of things.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. Well, yeah, thank you. Reflecting on your career and journey, have you had significant mentorship experiences? Can you share some how mentorship has impacted your professional journey?
Yeah, for sure. I think I at the beginning I never actively watched out for a mentor. I think it came quite naturally. So, for example, when I started my first job at a company or mid-sized consultancy in Germany, there was a project lead who was responsible for a couple of internal stuff, and I just got an email, yeah, please help out. So I helped out. But Daniel was his name. Daniel had so much to share and provided so much feedback on things rather radically, so directly in your face. So then he would never stop saying, this doesn't work because of, and then he would provide the feedback. That I leaned towards it, especially at the beginning, and also ask for help, ask for feedback when I had things. And then over time, I recognized that these discussions we were having were actually so fruitful for me to reflect. Okay, what can I do differently? In which direction I can pivot? And after that, I always try to seek this mentorship also in my team manager. So after Daniel, I had my team manager for quite a while at my former company, Gregor, and he was always at my side, always ready to talk about things. We had a lot of discussions, not always agreeing on the same thing, which is not necessary, but I learned so much from him because he had more experience, he had a different perspective, that I really um, benefited from it, and I'm grateful that it happened. I think during that time I also realized that having people which provide guidance, people who also have a different opinion than do you, have also people which just say, yeah, well, have you thought about this, or why didn't you thought about this, um, can bring you so much forward, that I'm not just limiting my mentorship to my team manager. So yes, I also lean towards it because we have this hierarchical structure. Nevertheless, I nowadays also try to just surround myself with more and more people which know more than me about certain things, or which have more experience, or tried it in a different way. That I wouldn't call it mentorships nowadays. I think with some people you can, but it's more having a, let's say, trusted network of people you can go to get advice or opinions a bit about a lot of things. Like, can we apply a new operating model in this organization in a certain way, or shouldn't we pivot in a different direction? Getting this feedback on a regular basis really enlightens my day quite often.
Yeah, yeah, awesome. And indeed, having it's not that important to be only one person, but it's important also to seek for feedback from different colleagues, leaders, team managers, and so on. And if you were to mentor someone entering in the tech field or software development industry, what advice would you prioritize in your guidance?
Hmm, I think one of the things which I definitely would recommend, and now my consultancy heart is coming through, is try fast, fail fast. I think at the beginning I was too conscious to think things through before I just say, okay, let's give it a try. So if you actually step into the tech field, um, yeah, rather ask for apology than for permission, and really push things forward, and also bring your ideas forward, because yeah, maybe it's not a good idea, can be, but people will let you know. But what the people don't know, they cannot act on. So the sooner you speak up and share things and opinions, the sooner you get feedback on it.
Yes,
I think that
yes.
would be the biggest advice at the beginning.
Yes, yes, indeed. And one must not be afraid of making mistakes or getting not so positive feedback, because it's about learning and it's not about the person. So it's important how what the other person gives the feedback, to not be directly to the person, but to the event, to the skills, to other to other the other things. And speaking of that, there is one part with the mentorship, but the other part that I wanted to ask is regarding the support networks and people around you. So, have you had in your career support during challenging times, and do you have an example on this part?
I think the most trusted source I would rely on, and especially challenging situations, is my girlfriend, because she then has a really good, or also really strict perspective on things with me, and especially when I was in this really interesting but also tremendously challenging pharma project, she also drew a line quite often in the sand and said, okay, hey, I think you should stop here. I think you should let it go. Or I think you need more help around these things. And I always try to include this in my day to day as well. So that at a certain point right now, if I reach a situation where I don't know how to move forward, I will consult her or discuss these things through with her to really avoid that I'm, yeah, pushing things forward all by myself, so to say, and have someone around me who say, yeah, by the way, I think this could help, or why don't you thought about other things to actually get forward.
So there was natural for you to actively seek her support, or it was vice versa.
I think it was vice versa. Quite often, it was more talking about the day to day and thinking about, okay, these are the things I think we should do and so forth, rather than just saying, by the way, I need your help now. So it came at the beginning. It didn't came naturally. At the beginning, I think it came over having this discussions, these talks. But over time, I learned that these feedback and these, yeah, also guidance I can get can be tremendously helpful, rather than always just focusing on myself. Because this combination of having someone who's your mentor, who will provide feedback to people who also can say, by the way, this is how I would do it. The combination at the end is the key, and also how much you are allowing yourself to have this combination.
Yes, definitely. And everyone is handles this part differently. For you, the support system was your girlfriend. For other people, was, I don't know, brother, or someone in the family, or a friend, or someone at work. But it's important to at least have the first part of the communication where we share the things that we are going through, and after that maybe to get some support, yeah, from the other part. And it's the same from our part if someone came to us in this direction. So if you were yes, yes, if you were to build a new team starting from scratch on a new project, new team, what qualities would you look in the team members to have a supportive and collaborative work environment and team?
Well, that's a tricky question because it quite often depends on what you like to achieve with that team. But I think in general, I would say it's important to have a good mix of capabilities within the team. So I wouldn't try to have, and also mix of personalities to be precise. I wouldn't try to have people which are all the same. I would try to have people. Some people maybe more outspoken, some people more introvert, some people with more experience, so maybe longer in the organization. Some people quite new to the organization. So really having a rather great mix of things than having people which are all the same and are all following the same profile, because the more diverse the team structure would be, is, the better you can also discuss certain things and maybe even argue things sometimes if needed.
Yes, yes, indeed. And diversity indeed has the power of getting new perspective, and people to see from other different point of views of the same situation, and getting maybe different feedback on the same thing. And the approach could be different from the other part, and it lets you build more creatively in this part. Yeah. And that's true. Okay. Thank you. For example, I have one question that I put to for all my guests. If you could have dinner with any figure from the tech industry, dead or alive, doesn't matter, who would it be and why? I love tough questions.
Yeah, I know, and I'm thinking about it. I think for me, um, I would really like to talk to it sounds so general, but I really like to talk to Steve Jobs once, because I think, especially around Apple, this understanding of, let's not design what we know the people want. Let's design things, or provide things that people don't even know they need, because it pushes the things one level further, rather just reactively doing something. It's proactively designing and driving towards something which is new and can help. And I think that would be great to having this discussion, and also see in which moments you need to push the thing a little bit further to actually reach the point. Yeah, I think that would be a great discussion to have.
Yes, indeed. Indeed, it's a great topic, and I always, and during my career and now, when I started on entrepreneurship, I always have that limit where to think on what the people will want, or how much I push from my own vision onto what I propose to people, right? Because many of people that are doing businesses, they stick to what the market wants and give them what they want, right? But to create um, innovation, you need to go further, and yeah, that's a challenge for the business, because at the times you can see, okay, but people don't want that. Yes, okay, how do we make the things more appealing for people to understand there's in their benefits doing the things there in that way, right? Because the change was never easy, neither personal, neither for groups or organization, neither for anything. But in the end, always everyone um, got from that something and benefit from it. Okay, do you have some, I don't know, recommended book or resource that influenced your career?
I think I wasn't that much influenced by a book, to be honest. I think I was more influenced by people I talked to, and to conferences I went. So for me, it's more, to whom do you talk about certain things, than reading the book. Because yes, a book and also theoretical knowledge can have a lot of effect, a lot of input. But for me, it's more, with whom did I talk? So I try to talk to people which have a lot of experience. I like to engage with these people, and I have to say this brings me forward the most in my career so far, on professional development as well.
Yes, yes, indeed. The talking to someone, it's more personal than the book. In the book, they um, writers are putting everyone in the same target and the same experience, maybe level or something like that. But discussing with someone on your particular case with their particular experience could lead to more effective and life changing, maybe, discussions and thoughts. Um, is there a particular piece of advice or insight you would like to leave with the audience after this?
Regarding what? Regarding professional development, or regarding agility? So, because advices can be so broad, and I want to be as specific as possible to your question.
It's up to you.
Okay. I think my advice is really, be loud and about. So talk about the things you believe in, and be not afraid of getting feedback about it if you are loud and about. So rather get challenged by someone and then accept the feedback and maybe change your opinion based on proper feedback, than hiding what you think about certain things and then not acting on it.
Hmm. Yes, indeed. And if I'm thinking, because I always do that, thinking on what a person needs in terms of skills to do those things, right? And I'm thinking of good communication skills, um, personal self trust to be out there and not being afraid of receiving negative feedback, maybe. A good to be a little more than just being introvert. And if you are introvert, sharing your ideas should not be a problem, because introvert means you recharge when you are alone and you do things different on your own or something like that, but doesn't need to block you when sharing things professionally, what to do, your experience, or other things. So I think more on this, on the a little public speaking skills. Why not? And emotional control. So all things wrapped in something like that. Yeah. So speaking of that, how I know we already discussed, but how do you envision the role of emotional intelligence evolving in the future of tech industry?
I think that that's a really interesting question because it's also a little bit of shaking the glass ball, right? I think we need to get um, better, or we need to be more sensitive how to communicate and when with each other. So this emotional intelligence also needs to um, overarch. Okay, when do I communicate what? Because quite often we have so many information streams people are connected to and which are running all the time with async working, with Slack message here, news leads feed here, and so forth. So the things are moving so rapidly that we also need to have this intelligence. Okay, when to tune down the information load on the person or on an organization to create this room they can actually flourish, and flipping it around, when do we need to, let's say, more structurally communicate and engage with people to ensure they, let's say, get the momentum of the information right and not catching it later. And this also applies to, okay, the world is changing so much and so fast. How much change of situation an organization or a person can digest, and developing the right level of understanding and feeling for it, I think that will be key.
Yeah, yeah. Awesome. Thank you. So as we reach to the end, could you, if you want to provide some information on how our listeners can connect with you, to read about what you publish, or your work or conference that you are going to, any, I don't know, social media profiles or something like that?
Yeah. Yeah, so for me, it's easy. You can always reach me on LinkedIn. You can find me there. You probably will find the link in the post we are making. Just drop me a message there. Follow me if you like. And I'm always up for a chat, even if it's just half an hour. You can also find my link to my YouTube list. So all the other talks I done in the past, if they're recorded, and all the other podcasts I was part of, you will find there. So yeah, happy to connect and have a great chat there.
Oh, thank you, Tom. Thank you very much. And that's a wrap for today's episode of the Vibe Talk. I hope you enjoyed our insightful conversation with Tom. Uh, and before we go, I want to extend a big thank you to our guest for sharing his valuable experience and perspective. Thank you, Tom. Um, for our listeners, I encourage you to connect with us. You can find more on the Vibe It Up channel on YouTube, LinkedIn, and soon on our Discord channels. So thank you, John. Have an awesome day, and I appreciate your time being.